I need to put my phone on do not disturb.
Good evening. Good evening. It's Dr. Renee here at the Ask Dr. Renee show here at Black Doctor. And so, first of all, I need everyone to share the broadcast. Share the broadcast. Sharing is caring. Share the broadcast if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever. Please share. And let us know where you're watching from. You can drop it in the comments. And then also during the show, if you have questions, drop those in the comments. And if I am able to, I'll try to make sure they get answered. So today is the last day of Black History Month, unfortunately, but we're Black all year long, especially blackdoctor.org. But also, February is also the month of love. So we are so excited to have the matchmaking duo with us today. And if you don't know who they are, you're going to know by the end of this, and you're going to be in love with them like I am. But they were, most recently, they were featured on the TV show Love Match Atlanta that was on Bravo, and you can watch it on Hulu and binge it like I did. It was excellent. And then they were also on a podcast called Hardly Initiated recently. 3-hour interview. It was really good though. You should check it out. But I'm so excited to have them. Here we go. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
I can. One second. Tana, unmute yours. Yep, there you go.
Yes.
Great. Good evening. Thanks for
Hello,
having us.
everyone. Happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Oh, of course. Thank you for coming. I'm so excited. So today I let them name the title of the show today. So they wanted to talk about modern dating for the power woman. So we have some women that will join us later that are definitely power women. But before we get to them, one, I want you to tell people who you guys are, because there are a very few people. Because let me tell you, I didn't get to tell you before. I have received more than a few text messages between yesterday and today. Can you give me the link? So I want to make sure that my friends are watching, and I want to send it to so and so. And somebody said they were sending it to Jack and Jill, and I was like, okay, okay. So the chat. Oh, this is a big deal.
The more the merrier. Yes.
Area. Not to mention, I am a hopeful romantic myself, and I love. So I'm glad that everyone wants to see everyone in love. So yeah. But we can start with you, Tana. Tell us a little about yourself.
Okay, so I am one half of the matchmaking duo. I am Tana Gilmore. Again, certified life and relationship coach, sex and intimacy coach as well. We've been in business for 11 years. We're celebrating 11 years this year, so we're very proud of that. We specialize in just women of power. So dating for women of power is what our specialty. That's our demographic.
And Kelli?
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. I am Kelli K. Fisher. I'm on the other half of the matchmaking duo, certified life and relationship coach, professional matchmaker, also an advocate for a single parent. So we're both doing some other things. We were having some conversation behind the scenes about, women of power who are solo parents. So that's a new initiative as well. But we just help very successful and very people who are kind of on the fast track and haven't been able to take time to find love and prioritize love. We help them to make it a priority in their life.
So I have to ask, matchmakers are not all the same. And I think that there's a lot of myths and, all sorts of ideas of what it looks like or what it's like. And like I said, watching Love Match Atlanta was great to learn, different people's processes and stuff. So can you kind of explain, if someone was deciding to work with you guys, what would that experience be like?
Well, it's interesting because there's so many ways that people work with us. And so sometimes people will hire us just for coaching. So for instance, we have certain avatars, I think, that come to us, so certain types of clients. So one would be someone who, for instance, we have a lot of doctors, so maybe have gone through extended education, then residency, then opening their practice. And they're like, oh my gosh, I haven't found love. Like, what do I do now? I haven't even been in practice of dating in forever. So that would be where we're doing some coaching, getting them out there. We also work with clients one-on-one. We do group coaching, we do workshops, events, and the list goes on and on.
Cool beans. Cool.
So if someone wanted to start to engage in the process with us, they would certainly go to our database, or sort of go to our website and submit a form to become a client. And then the first person that they would talk to would be our implementation director, Renee Scott Blunt, and then she would kind of take them through the consultation process, and then they'll have a consultation with us so we can uncover their past challenges, what they might be looking for, more about their personality, and then so we'll do like a strategy session. It is a deep dive strategy session, even before we make a decision if we're a good fit to work together.
And that's important. And then I also like the whole figuring out, like making sure that they looked right for the date, and that was really interesting too. I was like, wow, there's a lot that goes into this.
Yeah, you would be surprised. I mean, most of the women, because they're usually women of power that really do come to us. So a lot of times they're coming to us with that that suit, that business suit, or, they have been in those conservative clothes because they're trying to close the deal, right? But that doesn't always work for love. So we want to accentuate your curves. We want you to come out in some color. We want you to have some conversation topics. And those are things that sometimes do need coaching, just like, the education that we have in our careers. Dating requires some coaching and some level of confidence, just like an interview. Same thing.
Definitely. And then, of course, so when I told somebody about you guys, they were like, well, what's their success rate? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. So,
right.
Oh, sure. So our success rate hovers around 87 and 89%. Yeah.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, we only work on referrals, which is so a lot of times we've never done we've never paid a dime for advertising. So people just kind of find us organically, which has worked for us. Like somehow our branding and all of that has helped us find our clients find us. So, people find their way to us, and we kind of go from there. We've been rocking and rolling here for the past 11 years, and we're now one of the most highly sought after matchmaking companies in the country. So we're pretty proud of that.
And you work with men and women, right?
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So men actually seek out matchmakers?
Yes, they do. Yes, indeed, they do. So you'd be surprised. I mean, the last gentleman that we had. Oh, are you there? Here, go ahead, Tana. Oh, I think
he has a slight delay. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So the men that come to us often, I mean, they're very successful as well. And it's not, you can imagine, it's not usually because they can't find a date. It's usually because they're not finding the right type of date. They're not finding the right type of person. A lot of times they don't realize, they don't even know what type of woman they're looking for. They're just thinking, okay, I want this type physically, but then they're not looking down the line as to what types of characteristics she should have, or what is going to sustain them to be married for 50 years, which is what they want. So I think we help them do a deep dive that they've never done before. It's almost like, oh, she's cute, she's got the curves or whatever it might be, and it's not working. And we are the ones that usually they trust us to say it is not working. We're behind the scenes with a lot of powerful people, but they trust us, which I think that's one of the things that gives us, just makes us really feel good that women of power and men of power trust us behind the scenes to just kind of share their challenges, and we work from there.
Awesome. And so, of course, with the go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so even last year, we had 3 men, I think, last year, and we matched them all with doctors. So yeah, we matched them all with doctors. So I mean, so then they I think one is married and 2 are engaged. Yeah, in just the last year.
Love it. with the internet, of course, and technology. So now you don't necessarily have to come into the office or anything. So people can work with you anywhere, right?
Yeah, we're a
Yeah,
national
that's a
company.
good thing. We've been national for, it's funny because we started our business in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we were like, okay, we're just going to stick to this area. And then maybe 2 months after we started our business, we were featured in the New York Post, and then we had a huge Essence article. And so we had to pivot, just like a lot of, business owners and, doctors out there who own their practice. Sometimes you have an idea of what you think your business is going to be. And it's like, oh my goodness, all right, we're going to have to serve. So we've been serving the entire country for the past 11 years. So that's the good thing. We have partners that work for us, photographers, we have, fitness instructors, all types of people that partner with us to get our job done.
Wow, I didn't know about the fitness instructors too. Wow.
Yes.
Do you actually set up dates? Like, okay, this isn't a good idea of a date because some men can't plan a piss up in a pub. I hate to say, but
Sure. Mm-hmm.
but do you help plan dates?
Yes, we do. I was going to let Tana. Tana, did you want to answer that one? I know you have a delay. Oh, goodness. Okay.
Her internet is like really
Yeah,
slow.
I wonder
I
if
may
she
be
should
having
log
some
out and log
trouble
back
with.
in. Mm-hmm. Do you want to log
I
out and
think
log
it's
back
having
in,
some
maybe?
trouble with the log.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that because that
I'm
it
gonna
could
try to
reset it.
do that. I'm gonna try to do that. One.
Okay,
I might even
Okay.
log in from my.
but your phone, yeah, just put it horizontal. You'll be fine.
Can I log out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you soon. You were asking, I'm sorry, what was your last question?
Do you help plan dates?
Yeah, so there, of course, there are different levels. So the types of clients that work with us. Sometimes it's like, hey, I just need some coaching. I want to do it on my own. Sometimes it's like, a lot of clients will say, I want help with my online dating because I just don't have time. I want you to kind of help us with that. And then we have premium VIP clients who are like waving the white flag and they're like, you know what, at this point, I want you to help me with online. I want you to help me with my image. I want you to help me with conversation topics. I want you to hold my hand through meeting this person. And I want you to plan the date so we get their schedule every Sunday. So every Sunday for the week ahead, they'll say, okay, Wednesday I'm available from 7 to 9. Friday I'm available from 7 to 10, and maybe brunch on, so we have that for the week ahead. So when we're talking to a potential candidate, we can say, well, you know what, she is available. I'm so glad that you're interested. She's available or he's available on Wednesday at 7. We set up the date. We find a venue and the person just has to show up. So that is a great thing. Show up and be amazing because they've been coached to do so. They're confident and, it's a real fun process.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that's pretty cool to just show.
Yeah. Sometimes, most of our clients just don't have time. They just don't have
Right?
time, but we help them to make it a priority.
So you said the online profiles. Do you navigate the online dating as well or no?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Because, sometimes they are kind of fearful with even attacking online dating. You can only imagine. I think we always say this almost every day. Every potential client that we talk to is like, there are no men in DC. There are no men in Atlanta. There are no women in we had a client in Iowa. So please, there are people everywhere. So it's a matter of how you approach them. If you're looking approachable, if you're starting a conversation, if you have the tools to contribute to the momentum to take the first date and move it forward, because it takes two people to make that relationship work. So I think that's one of the challenges too. It's almost like historically, even in our community, it's like women have been taught to, you just kind of sit back and you're just pretty and smile and he's going to take it from there. Now it's like, no, he needs to know a little bit about you. It's almost like a mini interview both ways. So you're selling yourself and he's selling himself, and kind of see if your lifestyles will align. But no more sitting back and just looking cute. It doesn't work. It does not work.
So everyone, of course, has been watching the 50-part series on TikTok. Did you happen to catch it?
I caught about 20 parts of it. I couldn't hang in there.
Watched on YouTube. So
Okay.
I had it playing in the background while I was working for the last few days, and I just finished yesterday.
Okay.
Um, Is there any I mean, there was a whole bunch of red flags, but is there anything that you would say that you watched in that first beat that it was like, okay, well, you shouldn't have done this, shouldn't have done that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think from what I remember, the premise of it was that she, was dating someone. Was he long distance, I think, in the beginning, or no?
Oh, they were both in Atlanta. And
Okay.
online, they matched on both two apps. Remember, he had a
Well,
different.
right. Yeah. So I think one of the things she mentioned, she kept saying, I had this feeling in my gut. Now, if you're in your bathroom recording, just because you're like, I think something's wrong, it's worth exploring. Definitely, she felt like there was something wrong from the beginning. So I think and I think a lot of times with our clients, it is kind of that Olivia Pope type of syndrome where it's like, this is comfortable. I have a schedule. I don't even feel like putting my emotions in this. I'm just going to, we're in the pandemic. We're just going to take it from there. And so I think sometimes we want to slow down the pace a bit, find out the actual core values, and we call it your critical criteria. What do you need in this person long term, not just for the moment? And then being able to decide if this person needs more of my time or doesn't, and why. So I think that was the initial thing. It was just comfortable, they had gotten close to each other during the pandemic, and she's like, hey, he's fine. He's fine. Was he 6'5", I think it was, or he was very tall?
Yeah.
So that's step one.
Bills.
Right. He paid all the bills and it was comfortable. So, I mean, I think sometimes we just really need to have more conversations, but not only, we really need to know, what it is that you're looking for, and being able to identify why this person needs more time and why they don't. And not just based on looks, not just based on the experience that you're having together, but long-term, what characteristics does this person have, and do they meet? Think of being married for 50 years.
Yeah.
Does it work for then, or does it work for now?
Yeah, I watched a video and the lady was talking about how these people are thinking about getting married, but they don't think about, they're just thinking about today and they're 20 something or whatever, but they don't think about 50 years from now or 30 years from now when something happens.
Right.
And you're, cleaning him up or whatever, whatever, she's cleaning her up, whatever. And people think about that and they don't put that into consideration to say, this person probably is not going to be there for me. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. If they're not there now, you can only imagine that they're not going to be there if something hits the fan, which life usually almost inevitably always hits the fan in some way, shape, or form. So,
right.
You want to check out all of those things.
Yeah. And then, so now, we have, Tana's back.
All right. Great.
Hello?
Okay,
you look a lot better. It was very pixelated before, so I think we might be better.
Okay, let's see if this works. I'm so sorry. Let's see if this works better.
I think we can hear you.
Yeah.
I hope so.
So what I was about to say was, in this day and age, we have...
My apologies. Technical difficulties over here.
It happens to everybody. Everybody.
This is what happens when things are live.
Right.
So in this day and age, we have Love is Blind and we have Married at First Sight. So Love is Blind. I think that is like the best. If there's ever an experiment, that's a good one, because you really have to speak to these people. So I think that if somebody would work with you guys and was coached, they would be flawless.
Yeah, it is right.
Right? That is just a perfect. I don't know. It's the way that they do it, I think, is great. And the way that they, then you get to meet them, then you spend time with them.
Yes. I'll let Tana speak to that, because she's a Love is Blind. She watches it faithfully. So I know that they're in the pods and all of that. So definitely I want Tana to share her perspective on that one.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, because you have the opportunity to sit back. Oh, I'm sorry. You have the opportunity to sit back with a wall and connect with someone, make an emotional connection, ask all the questions that you want without physically seeing them. And so, and we, in our business, we almost do something very similar. So we usually match with integrity, credibility, morals, values, even before we take a deep dive into what the physical appearance. So we do something very similar.
And do you have a questionnaire that people fill out or something? Or is it just sitting down and chatting with you guys and then you just take notes?
It's funny because in the beginning we did have a questionnaire and, it's kind of like check these boxes, but now it's like based on synergy. It's really like at this point, I think, even as doctors, you start out with that whole coin thing of how you're supposed, but after a while you can kind of see what the challenges have been. And I think just being in this industry and speaking with singles every day for the past 11 years, we do a strategy session. And within an hour, most of the time, potential clients are like, oh my gosh, in 40 minutes, I can't believe like you're even saying things that people have told me. And because we can kind of gauge it right now. So that's why we're training other matchmakers behind us, because we're like, we can't just do this, the two of us forever. We're gonna have to clone ourselves at this point. So we just started a school, Love Pro University, where we're teaching other matchmakers to come behind us in our process, just to kind of spread the wealth and help us in this whole love industry.
Well, I think that's great, especially because I think, like I said, I watched the show and I felt like you guys, I liked I liked your process and the way you did things. And I said, if you want to use a matchmaker, I said I could consider them. I said I would trust them.
Thank you.
I watched Married at First Sight, and I don't trust the experts, so I watched since the very beginning, and I was like, your track record is just not very good. I was like, I think you're ignoring things that are blaring to everybody else. So yeah, but
Right.
like I said, I like your process, and I said this makes sense, and I think, and then because I know other matchmakers are like, you guys, it's so expensive, and I said, but I mean, would you, my father says you get what you pay for. And
Definitely.
when it comes to my heart, I really would prefer not go cheap on it.
Right. And you'd be surprised. I think with anything, I think a lot of times when clients come to us and they make the investment, they know that they have to show up. I mean, so they have to make time in their schedule because this is an investment that they've made. So it really helps not only them, but it helps us too.
Yeah.
It helps them too, because they're like, okay, I've invested it. But you can only imagine though, every once in a while we have some runners. I'd say every year, I don't know how many, I'd say at least 4 to 5 runners who pay, and they're just like, you know what, it's just, and we can't get them back on the phone.
Right.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So it is an investment, but sometimes people start and they realize they're not ready.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tana. It's still a delay.
Oh yeah, that's happened. I mean, I'm sure it's happened to so many.
Oh yeah.
People, which is the worst.
Yes. At least we can see her, because we've had,
Okay, I've been frozen where it's just like, you hate that stance where you're just like, at least she's frozen and cute.
But so have you had to fire any clients?
Oh yes. Oh, for sure. For sure. Yes. Because I mean, what we've realized is that, we have an ideal client, and most of the time people will say, well, they'll ask like, what is the success rate? But one of the things that we'll add to that with the success rate is that it's really important to do the work. So we're not a magician. So a lot of times it's like, we don't have this crystal ball that's like, ooh, we'll give you a man. No, it's a collective journey that we take. So we kind of just hold hands and we dive in and make it a priority. But a lot of times it's just amazing how when people are open to doing something different, just kind of that client that usually is the one that wins. Someone who's open, who's not trying to micromanage and come in and be the matchmaker. They're like, what is it? You're asking a million questions. And we're not against questions, but we just want you to just relax and just take a journey. We always say that love is not an exact science. And it's very difficult when a lot of times our clients are doctors, or they are engineers, or they're accountants, and their mind is very linear. It's like, okay, well, I took this class, I got this bachelor's degree. I took this, I got this accreditation. It doesn't work like that. So you have to be willing. We almost like, move your shoulders. We're going to be flexible. We don't know. We're going to jump, hold hands, jump, and we're going to jump right in and just see where it goes. It's going to be an adventure. So yes, a lot of times we may have to fire someone who is just too rigid, and it's not a good fit. So we may have to, maybe suggest that they go to another matchmaker. Or, and we can't just kind of go uphill. It's too much for any investment. It's going up the rough side of the mountain. It's too much.
Right. Yes. People are uncoachable.
Yes, definitely. And we ask every potential client, are you coachable? Because if you're not, it's probably not a good fit.
Yeah. Some people are stuck in their ways, and
Yeah.
even though clearly your way has not worked.
Right, right. Yes, for whatever reason, But so we just want you to be open to some suggestions. That's all. So
Yeah.
yeah, just if sometimes coming in and trying to run the show and tell us what to do, that inevitably it always kind of goes, well, we don't do it anymore. But I think initially in our business, we were like, okay, well, they're the client. Maybe we will do it this way. Maybe, and then we just kind of second guess ourselves. It's a whole big mess. So now it's just a no. It's a no for us at that point.
What about, do you guys have any, like sending someone to a therapist? Is that part of the process for any of the clients? Okay.
Definitely, because as coaches, we're certified coaches, and what that means, I'm sure that most of you know, is that we start from today and move forward. So if there's some really deep issues or things that need to be settled, we send them to just do some deeper work, just to come back, and then we go from today and move forward. But we don't like to. We're not, certified and credentialed to handle some of those deeper things.
Right.
But we do want them to be whole, because sometimes you can feel that energy where
Yeah.
it's like, we can't even sit you down with anyone. You look sad, you look defeated, and let's just work on that and come back around. And we partner them with a therapist, and we come back around and we're ready to go.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad that because some people, that's where my issue lies with Married at First Sight. I'm like, I think that person wasn't quite ready for this.
Right. Well, you'd be surprised. I'd say 100% of the people probably think they're ready. It's almost like, okay, like I said, there's nobody here. That's what do you think is the challenge? Well, I just haven't been able to meet anybody. That's not usually always the challenge.
Right.
Sometimes it is.
Right.
Sometimes, but yeah, I would say the majority of the time it's a little bit more.
Yeah. And so do you recommend any certain dating apps, or you just, you'll help them with whatever?
Yeah, we'll help them. So we start, of course, with paid sites. So nothing free, because of course, when you make an investment, you probably have a better pool, is what we found. But we help them to, depending on where they are in the country, we will do a market analysis and see what type of, singles are in that market that do well. So maybe California may do better on a Bumble, or New York, or Match.com might do better in Chicago at that point. So we have to kind of see which one we'll start with, and we go from there. But we do a photo shoot, we do an image consultation to help them find the clothes to be fun and flirty. We write their profile, because we are marketing executives by trade, and then we help them to do the picking. So we might even stretch them out of their comfort zone. It's like, we had a client last week and she's like, I don't really think he's that attractive. We're like, call him. Just call him. Just call him. That's all we say, is a phone call, right? Just a phone call. And you'd be surprised, how often that phone call will lead to something. A lot of times they're like, I would have never, maybe when they showed up on a date, it's like, oh my gosh, she's more, handsome, or she's more attractive than I thought. So we have to, again, be open to something different.
Yeah. That's I used to always say that the apps were very geographical. What works in one city is not necessarily going to give you the same in another city. And
right, yeah. And a lot of times people complain about apps too. I mean, it's amazing, because they're just like, I've heard such horror stories about the apps. And I mean, there are horror stories everywhere. I mean, it's just a concentrated amount of singles. But why would you avoid that? When you think about it, why would you avoid a whole pool of singles? There are some great men and women online at this point, because people at a certain age are no longer going to the club where, we used to do. We used to go to the club and sit there and try to meet somebody. A lot of people don't have time, or they're just over the clubs at this point. So you can just kind of come home after a long day, swipe and see if you've started a conversation. And a lot of times it works well. I think you have to have a profile that's positioned as well,
right.
and be able to take it from the app to the phone.
Yeah, quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's bring in the ladies.
Yes. Oh, Tana just said there's a bad storm there. Oh, my goodness. Okay.
That'll do it every time.
I know.
Well, you guys will have to come back anyway. But
yes, definitely, we will. We would love to. Thanks for having us.
Of course. So we have Kelli Redmond in LA, and then we have Kathy Macondo in Chicago.
Hello there.
Hello.
I'm Kelli Fisher, and we're trying to get my business partner, Tana, back. She's in a bad area. So we had some technical difficulties.
Yeah, sorry to hear about the storm.
Yeah.
So, do you ladies have questions for Kelli? Or Kelli, these are two very, they can say, if they'd like, you can introduce yourselves and say what you guys do. It's up to you.
Yeah, give me some background on each of you.
Kathy, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Kathy Macondo. I work in tech. My background is in computer science. I've been a developer um, for years. And so I would say I work with a lot of men, but most of the men that I work with are not what I would date, right? So I'm in my 40s. I feel like, dating in your 40s is a bit of a change, and I'm kind of in that mid 40s range, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I think the good thing for me is I look younger than I am, which is, it is what it is, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still difficult to date because, what often happens is men are looking for certain things and I'm looking for certain things and they don't always mesh. So I'm one of those people, I say, I don't really do the apps. I like to meet people in real life. Because I am an engineer and all those other things, I do know a lot of men and I will go to let's say conferences where there are a lot of men, like an engineering conference or something like that.
That's a
I go
good
to like Black
place.
engineering
Yeah.
conferences and things like that. And so I know a lot of Black men in tech or men in tech in just general. So I think I try to go where men congregate because what I find is that I would say most of the men that I've dated, I'll ask them like, where would you ever go on a dating app? And most of them would say no because I don't need to, right? So I found
Right.
that if I want to date the men that I desire, like I need to go where they are because sometimes when I go off my friends, I'm like, there's no men here, and then sometimes I'll go off my male friends and there will be no women. There's just I'm serious. If you guys have ever gone out with your guy friends, you're like, you guys are just 50 guys out here, and they're
Ah,
fine because when they
do
want
tell.
women.
I'm sure most of the singles in here are like, do tell where that place is. I'll meet you
Yeah,
there.
But
let
no,
me
I'm
know.
serious. Like when I
Right.
hang out with my guy friends, they'll go places where it's just mostly men and they're just doing their thing. And when they want to see women, they will go to where women are. But I
Mm-hmm.
find that a lot of women, because I go out with my girlfriends and I'm like, there are no men here. And I find that, dating and just being out in the world, it's almost like high school dances again, where girls are over here and guys are over here and we're not finding each other. But yeah, so I'm
Right.
trying to make sure since I don't do the apps, that I try to go places where men are. I'm also trying to endeavor to go on dates. So my goal for the year is 2 dates a month. This month I did make it. The first month I did. Yeah. So January I had two. This month I had one. So I got
Hmm.
to get back. I just got to get back on the horse, and it's been good because I'm seeing it as a warm up for
Mm-hmm.
myself. Because I think last year I didn't date as much, and I'm like, you know what? I need to get back there. I need to the practice, kind of what you said, like asking the questions, being asked the questions, being engaging. Like I like to go out and get dressed, but it's usually like just for fun and not in the whole way of like representing myself as somebody that I think a man should date. Right. So
Yes.
that's
Mm-hmm.
been the that's been the practice, and it's been a little bit, it was a little bit harder than I thought. It's definitely like I agree with what you guys said that looking for love is like looking for a job. You really have to be your best self because we've all been really qualified for a job, but you go into the interview and you bomb it, right? And I
Right.
think, right, because I've definitely
Right.
been there. I've bombed it. I've forgotten stuff, and so as I know, in 2022, I was looking for a job, and it took me a while to get to the point where I had my confidence and my swagger back to like land the job that I wanted, and to be able to just have those reps in, and so that's what I'm focused on for 2024.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, you shared a lot of good points. So even a lot of times it's important to just be in the space. So we want to just applaud you for going where men are. I mean, sometimes we're just pushing the women to like, well, you're gonna have to come out of the house, right? So that's step one. That's step one. And we always say that when you're single, you're on the market 24 hours, 7 days a week. So I think as women, especially, it's almost like I'm going to wait till I get dressed up with my girlfriends and now I'm looking. No, incorporate the whole day. If you're at the grocery store, if you're at the bank, if you're at the gym, these are all great opportunities to have a conversation. I think the breakdown from what you probably mentioned is that you're going where men are, but the men are on one side, the women are. So it's almost having those skills to now approach someone. And hey, we're in this age where it's okay to go over and say hello and give a compliment. Like, wow, that color looks amazing on you. I just wanted to let you know I saw you across the room. I'm Kathy, by the way. And you are? Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, Kelli. I'm gonna do that. I don't really come up to men, but I do like that aspect, and sometimes
Why
I
are we
will.
here? Right? Like,
But
why
you
are
know
we here?
what?
You've gotten dressed up. You're there with a sea of men where all these women want to be. Don't waste the time. Of course, we're all about women of power. We don't waste time. So when you get in there, give yourself a measurement tool. I'm going to talk to 3 people before I
Okay.
leave. I'm going to talk to 5 people before I leave. I'm going to give 5 compliments. I'm going to smile and say hello. I'm going to make it count. So I think that's really, really important because you're making the effort, which is, probably loads behind ahead of a lot of other women. So I think that's a good thing. You also mentioned that you don't go on the apps. I don't know why you don't go on the apps, really,
You know,
but
as I mentioned before, so
mhm.
I feel like the men I like might not be on the apps. I'm trying to get there. I am trying to get
Okay.
there. And I did hear you when you said that, there's bad fish everywhere. Because of course we've all met men in real life and they were bad, right? Like,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
talk
they're
about
bad
that.
in person sometimes, and women are bad in person. We're bad all around. It just depends.
Right. And as we know, the Risa Tisa story that you guys mentioned prior, I believe they met in person. So it's not the best way. I do need to do that. I think I need to work on my comfortability, and it's more just what I'm comfortable with. And probably because I do work in tech, I'm just like, I'm like
Exactly. I was like, I said, if I have to go back, I'm gonna have to get a matchmaker because I'm on the computer entirely too much. And
Right, right, right.
like I wouldn't vet them properly. I just
Yeah,
you just be
well,
like
hey.
swipe, 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 swipe.
Right, you keep on swiping and don't know when to stop. I mean, that's the other thing. I think some of our clients is like, okay, wait a minute, you know when to, disengage, but let's work on when to engage. That's the other part. You're meeting these people, but when is it a good fit? So that's important as well.
And I think that's where I think the two things that I need to work on is, like, I feel like I'm one of the people when I go out, I look nice, I try to do things, but what I found I've been doing, especially since I live in Chicago, it's cold, so sometimes you're just like, I'm just gonna go out there looking whatever, and it's like you can look approachable but not like bad. And there was a few days where I was like, man, I look bad because I was like, something happened, so I have to get back into the stay ready because as women will tell you, there's like a threshold. Sometimes a man will come up to you like, I didn't have any makeup on, I didn't do whatever, but like, let's say you had your workout gear, and the man was like, okay, I can work with that, right?
Hmm.
So I need to make sure I'm ready. But also, sometimes you'll see a man and you're not really sure. I need to just work on like, as you said, I'm on the market 24/7, right?
Yes.
Sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to do it. And it's like, you never know, to your point. Having a conversation with somebody, you never know what's going to come of it. Some people, I've definitely been in relationships where I saw somebody like, that's not going to be anything. And then you have the conversation, things, just even exchanging a number. What I
Hmm.
find is, it'll definitely, men self-select, right? So it's better for me to just get that knowledge, and I mean, like, get that information. So I need
Right.
to be ready, and I need to, like, kind of like have a coach and be like, okay, girl, you're going to go out there and you're going to, because, like, I'm serious. I was telling somebody, in my college years, I was in NSB, which is National Society of Black Engineers.
Hmm.
The ratio was like 1 woman to 10 men. We would go to these conferences and we come home with 10, 15 phone numbers, calling dudes. And I think we thought we had the time, right? And so
Hmm.
now we're like, okay, we don't have the time. So now I have to still, I have to realize I'm not like out of time, but I just need to just have that enthusiasm and that fun. That's what I miss about the dating and the meeting and the what have you. So I'm trying to
Yes.
get that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think for everybody too, I think you mentioned, just having that confidence. And we talk about even going for an interview. How much preparation, especially for a big time job, how much preparation do we do for an interview? Like, we are going to kill it, right? We have all of our points. We're reviewing it that night before. So, I mean, dating, we want you to be just that confident and knowing, even like in a interview for a job, it's like, why me? I know why me. And so we want the same thing. We want you to kind of delve back, backwards and just say, okay, well, why me? Why me? So we want you to put your best foot forward from the beginning because the pulse of dating is so quick right now. You can have another date tonight at 7 o'clock. You can have another date tomorrow. So you only have a couple dates in to really show a little glimpse of who you are. So
Yeah.
it's not, I think culturally, it's kind of messed us up a little bit because, maybe our parents and grandparents are like I said, you just kind of sit back and you wait and then you open this whole Pandora's box 6 months later. They're gone because they never knew. They never knew that you were fun. They never knew you were spontaneous. It's like, okay, well, let me just wait and till he does a song and dance, and then I'll just kind of unload all of these wonderful things. No, we kind of coach you to share a glimpse of what life with you would be like. And that person who loves what life with you will be like is the person that's going to be attracted to you. So we don't want you to, if you're not fun, we want you to, so I'm really just gearing into that experience of what you're offering. So sometimes like, I have to be funny with this one. I got to do this with this one. We want you to just be consistent every time and showing how wonderful your experience is going to be. And like I said, the person that's attracted to that experience is the one that's like, hey, I cannot live without Kathy. I can't live without Kelli. This is it.
I like what you just said. Give people a glimpse of what life with you would be like, and I think that's actually a great way to prepare. And for me in the future is to bring that part of my personality and all the things I like, and just the real, because I feel like it's the representative, of course, but still enough of the real you
Right.
to allow people to make a correct decision.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. And for you too, I think we probably would give you, because you're in that tech space, we'll probably give you some homework of doing like 50 smiles, because your smile is amazing. But sometimes it can kind of come across like serious. So we want you to just be fun and light and just smile. So smile all the time, because like you can see, like when you smile, it's like the whole sun opens up. And so that even makes it like, oh, you know what? I wouldn't mind having a conversation with her.
Okay.
So everyone, if you start with a smile, you are 10 steps ahead. Yeah. So yes, Kelli.
Hi there.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, Kelli.
Nice to meet you. What a great name you have.
That's right. That's right. It means brave warrior.
I don't know that maybe I heard it a while back, but I'm going to write it down again. I'll take it.
Exactly. I'm really excited to be here. Dr. Renee invited me at a very interesting time in my life and journey. I have been a social entrepreneur and nonprofit executive of my own nonprofit, but next week I'm starting with leading a new one that helps train Black people to serve on all types of governing boards and helps with the placement. So I'm really excited about that. And we'll be
Wonderful.
interacting, I believe, a little bit more with men that I will be more interested in, across the board, across the country.
Mhm.
What I will say, I'm based in Los Angeles, and as most Black women in Los Angeles would say, although we have common issues, across the country, that it's magnified in Los Angeles. Um, what I've noticed for me is since I've been here, I just rarely meet men that I'm interested in that have kind of the total package of what I'm looking for, that are single and available. Now,
Mhm.
you can attract men that you're interested in that meet, that you're compatible with and all of that. But whether or not they're actually completely single and available, and whether or not they're honest about being single and available. And then there's the whole issue around whether or not they're interested in monogamy or not, whether, dating or married or whatever. And so I'm representing the 50s age range. So
Uh-huh.
I've been out here for a while. I have been married. I had a daughter, so I was a single mom for a long time, and my daughter is graduated college now, so it's an interesting,
Wonderful.
exciting phase of my
Congratulations.
journey. Thank you. So I actually, in my post-divorce life, have really had one significant relationship that I really believed could be long term, and more like a life partner, potential husband material. So that's a very small number for 21 years. So,
Okay. So you've been single for
and
21 years.
I've been doing quite a bit of dating over the years. I've been on and off the apps. Over the past year, I have, a year and a month or two, I have been on the apps, and this has been the absolute worst time that I have experienced being on
Mm.
the apps. And I literally got off going into the new year and said, I am not going back. Like you
Oh,
said,
wow.
it
Okay.
was just like, no, 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 swipe, 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 swipe. And then even with the few that I started to have any type of interaction with, it was just not at all worth the time to explore or pursue. I mean, I didn't even get to even having many conversations, which was very weird. But I do know that my bar is high, but it's not unrealistic. I don't believe. And it's not superficial at all. And so I'm looking for characteristics around, the being a gentleman, having a heart and a love for people, not being afraid of love, being open to love. You know, I'm at this phase of my life, I'm exploring what it is that I really want in a relationship because I've been programmed to believe that I have to be married. That's how I was raised in my faith, etc. But I'm I've been a little more open and flexible about what it is that I want. But even expanding that, it seems that men in my age group are not really interested in making commitments at this particular juncture of their life. And if they are, they're choosing younger women. Now, what I've also noticed is, and my friends have noticed, and there are memes about it, you know, they wait until there's the man in the wheelchair app. Then now he's saying, oh, now I'm ready for a wife or I'm ready for a date or a girlfriend. And it's like, don't wait until you're on life support, needing a nurse full time, or, to come to me in my vibrant,
Right.
beautiful offering, uh, a total full package. Don't come to me once, your heyday is over. Like,
Right.
I'm in my prime. Approach me while you're in your prime, and let's see how we can, you know, enjoy each other, potentially build and grow, together. But it's just really interesting. I've also not only just because I've known for a long time, I've been in LA, I'm approaching 13 years in a few months, and I noticed right away the LA men are a little different. And so being from Chicago and living in Atlanta, and I lived in both cities for a decade as a professional. Um, it's just I definitely have more interest and connection with men in those areas, New York, the DMV, but LA men are very different. And so I am definitely open to any suggestions that you have for me, and I will certainly share with my friends because it is a very common problem. There are a lot of women of power who are the total package, and they are just not really viable options for us. And if so, we're sharing, and whether we know it or not. So
Well, we've been sharing for I don't know how
we
many
just
hundreds of years. When you think about,
and
the different children popping up out of the blue at the
exactly,
funeral, so this is
exactly.
nothing new, right? So
And so
that's
I'm
nothing new.
actually just really because I'm very hopeful, I'm very faithful, grounded in my faith. But I'm at a point where I am not really hopeful in this area anymore. I really don't know if I believe that men want to be monogamous or can be monogamous, or can at least be honest about what it is they want. Because I've even tried that in that one relationship that I mentioned. It's like, we don't have to rush to get to any particular destination. I just want to be on the same page and kind of know where we are. Because everyone wants freedom. The more they age, the more they grow, they want to be able to live the life the way they want to, whether they're in a relationship or not. And there
Hmm.
are ways that I believe we can create successful relationships, marriages, or whatever, where everyone gets what they want or need. And then, there's some that have extreme boundaries, and then, but at least be honest about what it is that you want so that all parties have a say so and as to how they want to participate or if they want to participate.
Yeah.
So
No,
I'll
I mean, I
leave
think that's
that to, and then we can continue the dialogue, but that's
right.
first
Well,
thing.
yeah, you mentioned, I was trying to make some notes because you mentioned a few things, which I don't know. I mean, one thing I'll have to say and just validate, LA and New York are different animals. So I will say that they definitely are. So I think we just have to approach it a little bit differently. When you think of LA, when you think of New York, even whenever you're in the city, people, I used to live there. So it's like, you come out, no one speaks, people have on their earphones or whatever, nobody. So it's almost like you have to be even more intentional in those areas to even start a conversation. So let's start there. But there, I want you to just,
Can I say
when you
one
say
other
there's no
thing?
hope, I want you to just see what you have to do to get the hope back. Because I'll tell you for sure, when our clients go on a date, we don't even send them out because a man can see that. They can see whether you're just there and you're just like, okay, this is probably another one. I don't think they can feel it. They can feel
Yeah.
it all around you. So
I don't
just
show
know
up
that
that way. This is more internal, talking to
yeah.
my
Well, you'd be
friends.
surprised. You'd be surprised though.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can feel it because they tell us, So I
No,
think
I
a lot of times you just want to make sure that you get to the point, even internally, that there is a man out there for me. There are good men. There are good men. And if it's something that you want to have in your life, what do I need to do to get there?
yeah.
But so I do want to just instill some hope back in you because I know you've had some bad experiences, but we meet great men all the time. I just got married. I was telling Dr. Renee in May. So, and I married an engineer, Kathy. So, uh, so you can only imagine our brains kind of work different ways. But yeah, so that's a whole different story. And as I was telling you before we got on, I was a divorced single mother of three, and even starting this business and even kind of leaping out on faith. We were originally life coaches, just helping. Tana had separated from her husband. I separated from mine. It was a whole long story that we can kind of tell of how we got together. But people watched our journey and then, watched how we kind of came back. I got divorced. They got back together. And then I was a single mom with these three children and started this business. And so I was dating as well, like, oh my gosh, how do I do this with these kids? How do I even reimagine who I am? Because you're a different person after that relationship. So there's so many different steps that you have to do at that point. But I think one of the things you mentioned, so you mentioned being hopeful. You mentioned being the full package. And you said there's so many women that are the full package, which I believe. But I think a lot of times we have been, and that's a whole different story. We have been, I think a lot of people have just said, what is the full package? Let's think of that. What is the full package in dating? What is the full package in being a girlfriend and a wife? So that is the experience that we're focused on. We're not focused on, what type of job we have. We're not focused on how successful we are. We're talking about, the full package as to, like I mentioned on Hardly Initiated, we're talking about after 5, what is the experience that he's getting? So now let's talk about how many women are the full package and how many people have worked on that and how many people know that when they show up, he can't get enough, whether you want him or not. He's calling like, oh my God, where is Kelli? I haven't talked to her. I miss her. So that's what the experience that we're looking for at that point, because we want you to have, whoever you go out with, we want them to say, oh, I want to talk to her more, and then you're like, it actually doesn't work for me. You make the decision. But I think a lot of times, even I think it's a cultural thing too. It's almost like, you just kind of sit back. Like you said, it's no rush. I just want to know what you want. No, we're coming in. This is what I want. I have done, this is the type of relationship I want. This is the type of man I need. And you kind of just go from there. So I think a lot of times it's almost like, well, tell me what you want. And, and men sometimes will just tell you what you want to hear too, sometimes, so I think it's more about you being empowered to show up with knowing the type of relationship that you need and then being able to communicate that. So it's almost like Tana and I have a marketing background. So it's interesting how we were able to segue our skills, transfer our skills from marketing to this. So we used to market products and services. Now we help market people. So it's almost like, you're trying to figure out, okay, well, what is it that I'm projecting in this relationship and dating? So what is he seeing from date 1? even I think I wrote down here, even the experience on the apps. So, I mean, when we're helping our clients to have conversations even on the app, it has to be memorable. So it almost has to be like, oh my gosh, I see that you traveled to Paris. That is amazing. I was there, such and such. Oh, that looks like so much fun. Like we want it to be like more personal as opposed to, again, sitting back. And then once you have engaged and, you have a bit of an emotional connection, whether it's conversation topics, whether it's, shared experiences, then most of the time he'll take the baton and run. So I think, it gets a little mixed up sometimes where it's like, well, they're telling us that we need to just lead everything. No, not at all. But we wanted him to be so engaged from the beginning, even on the apps to the first date, to the first couple phone calls. So it's like, if this person is not like, oh my gosh, I have not talked to Kelli or Kathy in 2 days, I am dying over here, then that's something that we're going to work on, because we want it to be just so memorable that it's like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. I see what her lifestyle is like. Sometimes I can't even get her on the phone. She's out playing tennis. She's over here trying a new restaurant. So, I think those are the types of things that we want to keep them engaged and just show them a little glimpse of what life would be like. And the life has to be somewhat engaging and fun.
Yeah, so I appreciate everything and agree with everything you said. And part of what I believe is the full package is doing your own personal work, working through, whatever your issues may be. We all have them. And I have focused on working on me, doing my work, making sure that, I've gotten my therapy, recovering from childhood relationships.
Oh, that's a big thing. Yeah.
And so,
and you would I think that's one of the things. I'm so glad you shared that. That's one of the biggest things that every time we talk to a potential client, men are saying it and women are saying it as one of their sticking points. They have to be open to having a therapist or being open
absolutely.
to, being mentally healthy. And so that is something that I don't think that we heard as much maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but now it's almost like every time they're like, they have to have either done the work or, be open to it. So, and I think it's kind of unbalanced for sure. It's like, okay, I've done all this work and you're still,
Right.
holding on to
Exactly.
stuff. So that's definitely uneven. So
I have learned that I cannot do that anymore. That one time there was a fear around it. There's like, oh, I'm scared to do the work. It's like, okay.
Right. Yeah.
I
And
took
there's
a
nobody
chance
perfect. I don't know that anybody
because of-
has arrived. Right. But I think
Right.
we're all a work in progress. But I think it's if you're open to continuing to be a better version of yourself. So just for everyone who's listening, that's something that most people are looking for. So if you haven't considered having a therapist, if you haven't considered doing the work, if you haven't considered, just being able to attack some of the things that may have happened in the past that are holding you back, that's something that's really attractive to singles at this point. They're looking for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would also say I don't have the problem getting attention, but again, and getting, the interest and being able to keep the interest. It's more around kind of, we're talking fit. There's the professional fit. There's the relationship fit, the character fit. Those are more of kind of the nuanced uh, issues around connectivity, for me. And then also, really having similar values, and then also the relationship type, what type of relationship that they, want to have. What I will also say about the apps that I left out earlier, there is a lot of misrepresentation going on, especially in my age group. They are using pictures from 20, 30 years ago and making it seem like this is who they are today. That is a real problem.
Yeah, that's a problem for sure. Yeah. And I think to combat that, you can always say, hey, let's do a quick video chat. Do you want to, maybe we can have some cocktails tonight and just have a virtual date, if that's something that you're
Most of
about.
them I'm not even that interested in. And so I'm like, I can tell these are old pictures. No. And I'm just like, no. So
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that we've had that experience, as much as, of course, we've had it every once in a while, but I wouldn't say that that's been the norm for us.
It's
Though.
especially in
not.
LA. especially in LA, when everybody thinks they look young for their age.
Right.
And a lot do, but
Right.
they use and pull upon that, back in the day
Oh yeah.
version of themselves versus, the current 60, 70-year-old version of themselves. So,
Right.
um,
So I did have a question. So you were Kelly Kelly Redmond. You mentioned that you're having a hard time making figuring out who's a good fit. Kelly Fisher, is there anything that you would recommend in early on, like questions or things like that that you should ask to verify that you're on the same page in terms of, like Kelly, you mentioned the type of relationship. Is that something you should be asking up front, like I'm looking for, or do you wait because you that men might just tell you what you want to hear and to get you?
and Kathy, just to clarify, I know what a good fit is for me. It's just I'm not finding it. So part of what I wanted to know, the basic apps are not working for me. So if there are other apps that are more exclusive, I'm willing to pay, for apps.
A
I'm
matchmaker?
Some of my friends we've been talking like maybe it is, maybe it should be a matchmaker. So I think the regular pool is not working for me, and I don't believe I want to be there any longer.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. Yeah, and
Right.
especially if you're at the point where you're kind of burned out, it's probably not serving you at this
And it's
point. I
not
would say take a
burnout,
break.
it's
Yeah.
just the offering is not what I want or need it to be. So
hmm
I'm not going to continue to waste my time or resources there.
Yeah, I get it.
Mhm.
You were saying also as well, Kathy. So your question was about, and I'll get back to you, Kelly. What was your question? You were
It's more
saying,
about vetting, right?
oh,
Because you know
yes.
a
hmm
lot
To
of
fit the
women I know,
relationship.
yeah, a
Mhm.
lot of women I know want to ask the direct questions, but we do find that sometimes men will tell you what you want to
Yes,
hear.
yes, yes. Okay.
And so
So
I never know what's the correct way to approach.
yeah, well, I think first of all, the first couple dates need to be light and fun. And so
Mhm.
again, when we're talking about women of power, we're like, look, I'm not wasting time. Let me just get we call it a date review, right? We go into there and we want to get every last question. And a lot of times people just gonna answer and just say what you want to hear. So I would say don't go in there. Nobody wants to be, quizzed, on the first
Exactly.
couple dates. We want it to be like very light, fun, share some conversation topics and those types of things. But I think over time, you do want to paint, it's about you painting a picture of your life long term, and then
Yeah.
having him paint a picture of his life long term, and just seeing if, and maybe you can have him go first or have that person go first and say, just paint me a picture. So no judgment. Paint me a picture of, what you'd like your life to be, your personal life to be, whether it's relationship, whether it's love or children or family. Like, just paint me a picture. And they can ask, like, what have you seen in the past? So a lot of times it's almost like, okay, what have you seen growing up? And so that will give you some insight too. If you've had those uncles that have been like, man, you don't lock anybody down, you do this, and then those types of things. So you're just asking open-ended questions just to get, and it's not to judge. It's just to get a perspective of what their life would be like and see if there are any similarities. A lot of times you'll hear something that piques your interest. So you're like, wow, I didn't really know that. And then you may become more attracted at that time. So just keeping it more as opposed to those direct questions. Nobody wants that on a date. It's too much. It is too
Right.
much. And I know that we don't want to waste time, but I think just allowing each other to paint a picture long term will help you. And then also having requirements. If there's something that they do and the other person does that's contrary to what they said that they want, don't overlook it. Mention like, when you didn't show up at 7 o'clock. I know that we said we were going to have a date at 7 o'clock, and you didn't call or anything. You're at home like, oh my god, I can't believe it. You don't say anything. You didn't call or anything. I really was worried. And my time is valuable. I know that yours is too. I just would like in the future for you to make sure that you show up when you say you're going to, because being accountable is really important to me. And
Mhm.
then give them a chance. And from that point on, if they continue on, why are we still here?
Right.
Right? Why are we still here? So you can say, oh, are you accountable? Are you someone who shows up when, yes, of course I am. Like, who's going to say no? But when you give those situations and you kind of, allow them to be who they are and then kind of redirect them to what you're looking for, either they can keep up with it or they can't.
This is true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Kelli, you were asking about different apps. I wouldn't say that we have prefer one over the other. We've had success on every app known to man, from, like I said, Match.com and Bumble and Hinge, and we even had success on Plenty of Fish, which is definitely one of those apps where you have to fish.
Right.
Like you have to throw the reel in and fish, right? So, but since they were paying us to do the fishing, we did it. But I really think I wouldn't say that we have one over the other. I mean, there's Coffee Meets Bagel, there's the League, there's so many different ones. But people join and they go off the apps every day. There's a new pool all the time. So I wouldn't say there's one over the other. I think it's just how you search, the criteria, the conversations that you're having, weeding them out, and just continuing on. It's a numbers game, unfortunately. So I love how Kathy said, though, you got to go where the men are. So,
Yes, I love her conferences. Kathy, you got to invite me.
Yes, to go out where the men are, start some conversation, smile, and say hello, and see where it goes. I think that's where you are right now. I think you might want to give the apps a little bit of a break and then come back, later.
Yeah, I need to do more in person.
Yes.
And definitely need to go more where men are, because like Kathy said, she said high school. I call it middle school when it's boys on the left, girls on the right.
Who's doing that? You took all this time to get
dressed?
That's
the LA culture. And I'm talking about even in the 50s group and up. It's same way. Even the fraternities, when they have events or parties, sometimes a lot of the members don't even show up. And if they do, it's all these women and just a handful of men. And it's just weird.
Well, you have to go where the men are. I mean, we have recruiters that work for us who are socialites anyway. So they're out and about being open and having conversations. They bring singles back to us to interview because we always are replenishing and adding to our pool of singles. But you have to go where the men are. So they're at cigar bars, they're at sporting events, they're at, the sports bars when it's, college and football and basketball, they're doing those types of things. So of course, one is going where they are, but two is having the tools to be able to say hello, start a conversation, and leave with the phone number. So that is the most important, right? So you can be there all you want. You're in a sea of men, and that's another whole different issue.
Here's the thing, though. In my age group, it's private events. It's in people's homes. There's not a lot of hanging out at bars or other things. So there's that kind of dynamic too. And so you do get invited, to some of those. But then a lot of those, they're just a lot of couples that are in that group. And then women don't necessarily want to invite other women around their boyfriends or husbands or this or, so and LA is a young town. There's not a lot of venues for my age group. So this is something kind of universal within Black women in particular, in Los Angeles.
Well, I mean, there's something even called that we've coined friend introductions. So let's say that let's say you're in that environment. And so I had to do it too. Like I said, I was a single mom. My daughter was in private school. So it's those couples all off. And then here I am, right? So here I am off on the side. And so Tana mentioned she's also a sex therapist. I started a new initiative called the Savvy Solo Parent, which I'll be launching soon because my kids have gotten a little bit older. And all of those dynamics, it's a lot. It is a lot. But using that room, for those of you who are out there, it's okay to ask, go up to a couple or a wife and just say, oh, by the way, I'm single, I'm divorced, just go head on with it, right? Just address the elephant in the room. There's no need to be over there on the side. You don't want their man. Just go over and say, hey, by the way, I'm Kelli Redmond. I'm so-and-so. I was invited. Now where'd you all, how many times have people come up to you, even of different ethnicities, and just even in the grocery store and just say, oh, you look so nice. Now, have you been here before? Like, oh, do you shop here? And you just, before you know it, you're in a whole conversation. That happened to me the other day. I was out for dinner and this woman came up to me and she was just like, now, have you eaten that before? Now, have I seen you? And she's engaged in the whole thing. And what are you going to say? Leave? Nobody's going to be rude. So you just go over there, have a conversation and say, by the way, so I am single, by the way. So just keep me in mind if you have, a great person in mind, kind of tell them what you're looking for and hey, make the room work for you. Again, that's why you're there. Right?
I do think at our age, 40 plus, a lot of my friends who, have had success off apps is definitely through a referral, right?
Yeah.
Somebody thinks of you and is like, oh, you know what? Dr. Renee would be perfect with my friend John. Because I
Right.
think women, and like I dated one guy and he was really attractive. And I was like, how do you meet women? Because we had met through a mutual friend. We were someplace at a picnic. But he was like, most of the women he meets are through referrals from a friend. So
Hmm.
Kelli, you might say, oh, I have a friend named Kelli Redmond. He would be perfect. He's like, send me your picture. And, that's how it is. And I think
Well, that's
that's,
why we do the photo shoot.
yeah.
Sidebar. Sidebar,
Exactly.
right? We had to incorporate a whole photo shoot because it's like, wait a minute, we gotta give us something to work with.
They are
Just some,
visual
just some
creatures,
fun
and so
photos.
are
And
we.
yes, right.
Yeah. So Kelli Fisher, it sounds like there's a lot of aspects to the matchmaking that you do. I heard an interview, I heard a photo shoot, I heard maybe even sending people off to therapy.
Hmm.
Um, okay.
Image consulting.
Yes,
Image
it's life.
consulting. Yeah.
It's life.
So
I mean, even sometimes clients might get out there and start dating and say, I need to go back to coach on this area because I realize when I get out on date, I'm clamming up on this part. So we might even bring them back to coaching. And so it's just, and then when they meet the one, just think of it for all of the singles out there. Sometimes people, like I said, they'll say, I just can't meet someone. What if you met that person tomorrow? Are you ready? Are you ready to take that relationship and move it on all the way to exclusivity and marriage? Are you ready? So if you're not, that's where the date coaching comes in because it's almost preparing just like we do for everything else. It's getting prepared for when you do meet the one, coming in with confidence, coming in, showing your best self and having an amazing experience.
I heard you talk about success rate. So how long is it usually for, like, I don't want to say matriculate, but how long do people stay within your matchmaking service?
Yeah, it depends. So we have coaching programs that start anywhere from 5 weeks, and they're often want to just tweak a few things. We have, up to 4 months, up to 6 months. So 6 months is usually the longest time that we'll work with someone, and then we kind of reevaluate from there, and then we'll move on. We'll either continue on or they've met someone. So it just depends. So I would say the sweet spot is between 4 and 6 months.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
good to
because of
know.
course, like I said, we're coaching. A lot of times we're doing an image consultation, we're doing a photo shoot, and then we're doing pre and post date coaching. So once you go out on a date, once you meet someone, we want to talk to you before to find out how the conversation's going. We want to talk to you after you go on the date to see, how things are going, and then be able to tweak the search along the way. So it's a very long process, but it is fun. It's a journey, like I said. So thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing. We have went overtime, but this was amazing. Great conversation. And we had some people some singles watching that were giving some input.
Good.
So I'm sure everyone got something from this. Please, if you're watching the replay, please share. If you have questions, type them in the chat. And thank you. We will definitely have to have you again because we got to get Tana.
Yes, thank you. And by all means, please follow my partner. We have been in business, like I said, for 11 years. So TanaCGilmore.com, KelliKFisher.com, the Savvy Solo Parent.com, and of course, the MatchmakingDuo.com, and the Matchmaking Duo on all social media is where you can find us.
Yeah, so please, and I will put I'll put those links in the if you can put them in the chat. I'm going to put them in the post so
Awesome.
everyone can see them. But thank you so much, everyone, and have a good
Okay, happy